Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, Montreal is now undefeated in seven after what was arguably their performance of the season. Georgi Mihailovic has never been closer to leaving the club, and CF Montreal defender Joel Waterman stops by for an interview. All of that and a lot more in episode 96 of The Ball is Around. Yeah, so no Eve this week. She's on vacation. She went to visit her family on the East Coast, but it's just me and Hady. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm fine, man. I'm fine. Very happy to be here, even if it's a bit late on Monday night. I hope
Yeah.
that we're gonna have a lot of people listening in and tuning in because we have a great episode. I think today.
Hopefully, man. Yeah, I think we do have a good one, man. For people who were looking for the interview of Joe Waterman, it's gonna be roughly in an hour. So when we're done with the review of the New England game, done previewing also the Chicago trip. Of course, we have to talk about the Georgi Mihailovic's transfer, and then we'll get into the interview. So hang on with us. It's a really cool interview. It was pre-recorded this week. When did you do it, Hattie? I think it was on Thursday, right?
It was Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
So just before the game.
yeah, exactly. Just
And
before the game,
talking
a day
about,
before the game.
yeah, exactly. And talking about the game, let's get right into it. So it was a confident but banged up Revs side that came into Montreal in sixth position in the East. There was some measure of fatigue that was expected as they drew in Toronto on Wednesday, a game in which they conceded for the first time since the 16th of July. Prior to visiting Stade Saputo, New England won two and draw three in their last five. Montreal, on our behalf, looking great, undefeated in six before the game, scoring 10 and conceding six in the process. Changes were expected, though, as Rudy Camacho was ruled out for a few weeks with a right shoulder injury, while Georgi Mihailovic was in Holland to complete his medical, which, if he passed, would reportedly confirm the transfer to Alkmaar. So Wilfred Nancy went with Pantemis in goal, from right to left in defense, Johnston, Corbo, Waterman, Miller, and Lapalainen. In midfield, Piet Wanyama and Chouanière. Up front, Kyoto and Camara. Rida Zouir was back in the 20 for the first time in 5 months, while Mason Toy was once again left out of the starting lineup. Hedy, were you surprised to see Mathieu Chouanière replace Georgi Mihailovic in midfield for that game?
At the beginning, that's what we thought, but I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the
Yeah.
animation and how it was set up. He wasn't in the midfield anymore, right? He was more as a left wing back. But we'll talk about it. Was I surprised? Of course, we knew because the Cannes Football Club and Sid Fowo, talked about the potential transfer of Georgi Mihailovic. So we knew Georgi wasn't going to be here. We weren't really sure what Nasi was gonna propose. Last time it was Kone that was put as a winger, a more offensive player. It didn't really pan out, unfortunately. So this time around, we're just wondering what he was gonna do, and why not? I saw the lineup and I'm like, why not? I love Mathieu Chouanière, and as you know, I always say, play the youth, play the club academy, the academy players, because they deserve it. And you know what? I was very happy of the outcome.
Of course. Did you have any other surprises with the lineup?
I was surprised mostly on the bench to see Rida Zouhir
Me
back
too, yeah.
because it's been a while. But you know what? I think the young kid deserved that he had a good level of play last year. We saw him play, I think, a couple of games this year too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember, but I think so. I think he played a couple of games and he disappeared. But I'm happy to see him back. Again, play the youth, give them chances, and I love seeing that. So not very happy to see Zouhir back. You?
Yeah, for sure. No, not really, man. I really in defense, I was really not surprised to see Joel Waterman play that central center back position, if we could call it that, or sweeper, if you're talking the old language. I was pretty sure Corbo was gonna slot in the right center back position, and they were gonna keep the same movement with Alistair Johnson, who's been absolutely fantastic this year on wing back. So. Yeah, and it was really up to who was going to replace Georgie. I had the feeling that it would be Miljevic before the game, and finally it was Mathieu Chouanier. And you know what? I was happy that it was Mathieu Chouanier because yes, the animation changed, and we'll talk about it a bit later. But it really played in Montreal's favor because
Yeah.
playing Miljevic would have been a bit more of a pure number 10, while Mathieu Chouanier was roaming much more, proposing a lot more, I think, in his positioning than what Miljevic could offer. So it was a very interesting move by Wilfried Nancy. So let's jump into the game. It was an entertaining but yet uneventful start to the game until the 50th minute when Alistair Johnston delivered a perfect corner directly onto the head of Camara. His attempt was blocked by Brandon Bai, and the rebound was taken by Corbo, whose shot was blocked unintentionally by Victor Wanyama. Otherwise, it was a goal. Hady, something that kind of went under the radar recently is Johnston's contribution on corners. With our newfound aerial strength and the near future departure of Georgie, how reassuring is it for Nasi to know that an undisputed starter is 100% capable of delivering quality balls from set plays?
Oh, it's so important in the modern game, right? Set pieces is now what you need in order to unblock an uncertain game, right? When you have two teams that are on the same level, when you have high intensity games, most of the time, it's set pieces that makes the difference. So having someone that's able to deliver good crosses, that's able to create danger with their crossing ability, that's exactly what you need nowadays. That's very important. Now, what we're missing is someone that can take shots and direct free kicks,
Yeah.
and that's something, or even take shots from outside the area. That's something that we're missing now in Montreal. But yeah, no, Alistair Johnston is a very important asset. Not only on that, right? It's funny because we talked about Alistair Johnston at the beginning of the season, Sam, and we were a bit underwhelmed, right, in the first 5-10 games because we were like, we paid a bit too much, and he's not showing anything. He's not really good. And you know what? Game after game, he showed what his potential. He showed what he's worth. He's one of the best players of CF Montreal this season, if not the best. So consistent, improved a lot, and made this right wing back position his own. And he's covering so much ground that he's playing two roles at the same time, and we'll talk about it a bit later. But do you think that Alistair Johnston is one of those players that's right now a bit an unsung hero?
Oh, I wouldn't even say unsung. I think he's just that good. When he was in Nashville, there was we didn't follow him as much for sure, but there was talks that he was one of the very good players of Nashville, but not playing exactly that position, right? In Nashville, they were playing more of a traditional backline in a 4. Sometimes in a 5, he would go either on right wing back, right center back sometimes, but his role that he's playing in Montreal is so different that probably anything he's played in his career. So that's probably why it was a bit of a grind at the beginning, because we were saying, you know what, I remember, and we weren't the only ones. There was a lot of people saying, Alistair Johnston, he's playing at right wing back right now because you need to put Joel Waterman in the lineup. He's too good to be taken out. And we were saying, when Waterman's going to start to fade, Johnston back at right center back, Bourguignard on the, at right wing back, and we good. But that's absolutely not what happened. And, credit to Wilfried Nancy and to Alistair Johnston, because it wasn't perfect at the start at all. It was even a struggle, but man, it just went good after. So it's very good for real, man. Hady, 10 minutes later, Montreal got their goal. It was a nice left wing overload initiated by Kamal Miller. He saw Mathieu Chouanier and then combined with Romel Kyoto, who found a pocket of space on that wing and crossed perfectly to Kai Kamara, who scored against his former team to make it 1-0 Montreal. Hady, Wilfried Nancy alluded to the reason why Chouanier started the game in his post-game presser, right? What exactly did he say?
Oh, but he talked about Chouanier and Lassie, right? Because, you can't talk about Chouanier on this game and not talk about Lassie. Chouanier was playing a left wing back role, he wasn't a midfielder during that game. He was playing exactly like he used to play before, with a bit less offensive responsibilities, because Lassie was playing that left winger role.
Yeah.
So by playing the left winger role, Lassie was creating something on the left side of the pitch, and there wasn't anybody else as a right winger, and that's why I said that Alistair Johnston was playing
Hmm.
a bit of two roles. He was playing a real right wing back role, playing defensively and offensively, whilst Mathieu Chouanière was playing a bit more defensively, with Lassie playing that left winger role without someone else at the other side. So creating some sort of unbalanced or
Yeah. Yeah.
unbalanced system.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting. And I think Mathieu Chouanière did very well. I was a bit afraid that he was going to be overwhelmed by his defensive responsibilities, but you know what? He answered so well, in my opinion. And yeah, so he talked about the way he aligned his players, and I think it was very interesting. And you know what? It worked.
Yeah, and you know, I just wanted to point out how you make these overloads work, right? So we
Yeah,
prepared a little tactical breakdown. So Hedy, if you want to put the slides on the
of
on the
course.
screen.
Of course. Let's start with the first one. Before we do that,
Ah,
we need to put.
I thought you would forget.
I'm never gonna forget tactical genius.
No, 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 no,
So
no,
let's
never.
start with the first slide.
So there you go. So we talked a lot about Kamal Miller playing a bit of a midfield role, even though he's a left center back. So this is exactly it. So where the arrow starts on the right of your screen is normally where Kamal Miller would be placed, maybe a bit more drawn left to open up a space, but he's in a completely atypical position for a center back. So we found space. Now, when you're creating overloads, the idea is to find gaps, and that's exactly what Montreal are looking for every time they're going to create an overload. So Gabriel Corbo has the ball, puts his head up and sees Kamal Miller, who opens a space between the forward putting pressure and the midfielders. And what you see in red is the space that is occupied by the quote unquote gap that Montreal are looking to exploit. So there you go. So this is the overload here. Kamal Miller gives it to Mathieu Chouanière, and who you don't see on the screen completely on your left, I wrote his number 21. On the left is Lassie Labalainen, who's a bit further forward. Look at Romel Kyoto's run. He's a forward. He doesn't take position in the center of the pitch. He goes voluntarily on the left as well to bring players with him to create that overload. So when you create these overloads, there's two things that can happen. Either you have a numerical advantage on the team you're facing in that zone so you can exploit that play, or you're going to suck them in so they can equalize, have even numbers against you. So either way, you're going to create something. Here, New England decide to bring players in, but they're kind of caught between two minds. So they leave Lassi Lapalainen a bit open, and this is what happens. And look at on the red circle is the gap that's creating. So you see it's moving slowly towards the penalty area. There you go. So now the combination happens, and look, the defender on the left is Brandon By. He normally would take Romel Kyoto in such a wide position, but he had to stay wary of Lassi Lapalainen. This is why Kyoto is between him and Sean Farrell, who's the midfielder. Mathieu Chouanière, the center back, I'm sorry.
Andrew Farrell.
Andrew Farrell, yeah. Mathieu Chouanière cuts to the middle where there's space because he sees the gap. And look, on the top of your screen, you have Kai Kamara, who's one-on-one with a center back. And you can imagine with his strength and his aerial, qualities and the build of his body, he is gonna get there first, right? So look at the gap that started completely in midfield is now in the 6-yard area. And when Romel Kyoto puts the ball in, it's one-on-one. And look at the red stripe. It's the distance between center backs. That's absolutely criminal for center backs to be that wide. But
that far apart. Huh?
you can't do that. But it's not that Farrell, was caught sleeping. It's just that he had to help his right back because otherwise, he was cooked him too. So Here, Camara gets to the ball first, and the ball is in the back of the net. So it's a very atypical way to work, but creating these overloads in these key spaces for Montreal usually open up some very good chances on the other end of the pitch. And we saw the transition of the gap that Montreal were always looking to exploit from the center of the pitch to the 6 yard area where Kai Kamara got his goal. So just a little tactical breakdown to put it into image a bit, and to sometimes it's just to explain it a bit, and get some insight in it. So
That's very, very, very interesting. A tactical lesson taught by the tactical genius Sam Savvy here, and you know what? That's what it's all about. A lot of people look at soccer, seeing people, seeing players running after a football, but it's a lot more than that, and that's tactics. That's exactly what it is.
yeah, man. So yeah, it was 1-1 at that moment, and in the 38th minute, the same four players who created the first goal went to work again. Mathieu Chouanière won the ball back deep into his own half and played a 1-2 with Camara, who sent the ball forward to Lassie. And then Lassie was on a 2-on-1 situation with Kyoto. And when the Revs defender decided to rush onto Lassie, he slipped the ball to Kyoto, and the Honduran made it 2-0. A performance that went a bit unnoticed, Hady, was Mathieu Chouanière's. I saw a very solid, gritty performance, and he contributed directly to his team's two first goals. Now, I know there's a lot of, tactical, movements, and you can't play the game exactly as when Georgie is if you put Chouanière in this position. But do you think that Chouanière could be a short to long-term replacement for Georgie?
It's hard because they don't bring the same thing, right, to the table, right? Georgie is very particular, right? Georgie is a unique player, and Mathieu is more as a Swiss knife, right? That's able to play in multiple positions and perform in multiple positions. Georgie is the kind of player. It's a franchise player. We say that in American sports, right? So he's the kind of player that can make a difference at any given moment, and that's not something that you can easily replace. Mathieu is someone that's going to enhance the collectiveness of the team, right? He's going to enhance the tactical preparations made by Wilfried Nancy, but he's not the one that's going to go dribble a couple of players and put a goal. He's not the one that's going to create a lot of space and take the ball and have the vision to give through balls like to Georgie. So not really the same type of players. Now, is it possible to keep that same tactical system with Mathieu and Lassie and, creating that overload that you talked about in your tactical analysis? That's possible. I think that it was a bit surprising for the Revs, and I don't think it's going to surprise a lot of other coaches afterwards. True. So I don't think that Mathieu will be that player, but I think that we talked about it in the last few shows on The Ball Is Round here, saying that we changed the animation in the midfield. And that Georgie wasn't finding his way back into the starting 11 like as easily in the starting 11 as a decisive player, right? And I feel that Montreal found a way of playing without Georgie, with the midfield of Piet and Wanyama, and the fact of going a lot more through the wing backs, a lot more than going through the middle like it used to be with Georgie Mihailovic, and changing from a 3-4-3 to 3-5-2. And at that point, someone like Georgie is not as important as he was before in a 3-4-3. And he's of course a great player, and he's able to be important anywhere. So I feel that I think it's going to be that position is not taken yet by any player. So I think it's going to be a rotation between Miljevic, Kone, Chouanière, depending on the opponent. I don't think that we know who's going to fill in. No, like in the spot all the time. What do you think?
Man, I think for a short period of time you can maybe roll with Chouanière for sure, because he's a very, very good player, and he's able to when he respects his abilities and his limits, he can be very good, and he can impact the game in his own way. But I think if you want to go against these teams that are going to play a very deep line, and we talked about how Montreal struggles against teams who play deep lines, who don't put a lot of pressure, because a lot of our game is to attract pressure and open spaces. So when opposition teams don't play that pressure game and go after our defenders and our midfielders when they have the ball and are content to sit back, you need a player like Georgie who's going to
Yeah,
be able to beat a player one on one and use the space
yeah.
that's been created while beating this player. And I don't think Mathieu Chouinard fits in that role. So
No,
yeah, he's able to play a certain type of game against a certain type of opposition. But I think on the long run, you'll need a player that has that ability to beat a player one on one in his toolbox. And I'm not sure Mathieu Chouinard has that.
I don't think we have any players that can play
No,
that
me
role.
neither.
Torres was kind of player that we thought that could have the potential to be that player, but I don't think he
Me
has
neither,
that
man.
potential either. So we might be wrong, right? But
I
I don't
hope we.
think
I
it
hope
exists
we're
right
wrong,
now.
man.
Yeah, I hope we're wrong. Exactly. But right now, I don't think we have that kind of player. But you know what? We're still doing very well without that kind of player. So hopefully it will last.
And what's good is that Georgie is gonna play. Anyways, we'll talk about the Georgie transfer later,
Yeah,
but he's gonna be available for the playoffs, so that's all good.
we'll
Um,
talk about it.
yeah, okay. So at halftime, Montreal was leading 2-0, and a lot of fans were saying that it was possibly the club's best 45 minutes since Wilfred Nancy took the reins of the club. Do you agree with that statement, Hady?
Listen, it had everything. Now, I don't remember every first 45 minutes of every game
Okay.
for the past couple of years, so it's hard for me to say that. But it had everything. Like
Mhm.
it had, you know, team quality, individual qualities in individual performances, team performances. For me, it's two different things, and of course the luck that you need in order to put the ball in the back of the net.
Mhm.
So everything was there to make it perfect or almost perfect, because nothing is perfect, right? So mm, it's if it's not the best 45 minutes under Wilfried Nancy, it's close to be the best. So
It was
it's
up there,
maybe
yeah.
in the top three for sure.
And were you expecting any tactical or personnel changes at the break, or you were happy with how it was going?
Oh no, we were completely dominating
Yeah.
in New England, so I wasn't expecting much. I thought that maybe at one point he was going to change a few players just because of fatigue and
Yeah.
everything, but nothing major tactically, because Bruce Arena didn't know what to do. Right?
He looked
He's
completely bamboozled on his bench, man.
exactly, exactly.
So the start of the second half was a bit more in New England's favor, but in the 55th minute, Sampiet delivered a Beckham-esque ball to Romel Kyoto, who went one-on-one with Farrell and slotted the ball home. For Kyoto, it was his 14th goal of the season, and for Piet, his third assist in as many games. Now, I want to take you back to the start of the year, Hedy. These are Piet's minutes in his first 10 games of the season. So 8, 21, 90, 25, 20, 32, 26, 45, 89, and 19. Now Piet is an undisputable starter. What changed in Wilfried Massey's mind, in your opinion?
We're speculating, right?
Of course.
We're not in Wilfred Nancy's mind. I think that Kone, the hype around Kone was really good, and of course he was amazing at the beginning of the season. But when opponents started to realize what kind of player he is, they were able to shut him down. And that system with one number six that stays deep, and one number eight that just projects himself and play the ball the box to box, is a system that all coaches know and know how to counter attack
Yeah. Yeah.
and know how to counter. Sorry. Uh, Now, Wilfried Nancy found a way, and I think a very intelligent way, to bring tactical. I wouldn't say, uh, maybe tactical. new tactical ideas
Yeah, yeah.
in MLS.
Flexibility, yeah.
Yeah, but it's things that you see nowadays in modern football that
Hmm.
maybe that you see in Europe that you don't see everywhere.
Yeah,
That's not
that's a
very
fact. Yeah.
common, right?
Yeah.
Having midfielders that really spread out and play mostly as right
Yeah.
wingers and or right midfielders, not
Yeah.
even right wingers because they don't project themselves down the pitch. They just stay at one point. They occupy a space
Hmm.
that's between the end line and the middle of the pitch, and that's something that's new for MLS. And he's using a Samuel Piet in that way, and it worked. It worked, and he realized that what Piet under Thierry Henry started to play a more offensive role, and you know what he improved. A
Of
lot of
course.
Piet detractors say that he never improved. He's never going to be able to be good. He's never going to be
No,
and
no.
everything. But you know what? He did improve. He has 4 assists right now in the season. 4 assists for Samuel Piet. So I don't know. I think
And
that
quality
that's the
assist,
reason why.
and the difference is quality assist, not like a short pass to a player who drives the whole field and scores. His assists were so good that it was an easy finish for the striker. So you have to take that into consideration. So, you know, to go back to how he was used at the start of the year versus how he's
Yeah,
used now, I think you put the nail on it, Eddie, because Piet was injured when he played for the national team in January. I think
yeah,
it took him a while to come back. He wasn't supposed to miss so much time, but he ended up missing I think 3 months with his ankle injury. So yeah, now Wilfred Nancy of course had to shuffle, and Ismail Kone did very well at the start. Then I think Wilfred Nancy, a bit like he's did with every of his players, he gave him time to redeem himself when times were a bit more difficult. But at some point, he just put his fist down and say, "Nah, it's not what I want." So now you go back to the drawing board with Piet. Now you start, drawing something different, thinking about something different with Piet. Takes a few weeks to get going, and look at it now. So, you know, I think that's just it. Wilfred Nancy said, "I'll give a chance to Ismail Kone," and Piet, had to sit and wait. But once he was given his chance, yes, of course, it took a week or two, maybe a month, Piet to really get going. But since he's been playing regularly, he's been awesome. He's been one of our best players. So back to the game. In the 68th minute, after the Juan Jones cross, Emmanuel Boateng took a first-time shot that was well saved by Pantemis Luther's right. But there was a bit of a man marking confusion beforehand by the center backs. How did you find the makeshift center back trio in the absence of Rudy Camacho?
they had a bit of trouble at the end of the game, and after the third goal, we'll talk about it a bit later. But for a makeshift trio, I think they did well. They don't have the kind of automatic
Yeah,
communication that happens when you repeat plays, repeat games together, and that's normal. It takes a bit of time, but as a potential, I think that back three has a lot of potential. I like Corbo. I don't think he ever played a bad game with Montreal since the beginning of the season. He wasn't, transcendent or great, never, but never had a really bad game. I think with the Montreal shirt. Waterman is simply the best defender of Montreal the whole year. I think I say it
yeah,
every episode, but I think he deserves that I say it every episode because this guy is unbelievable. And we'll talk. I did talk to him. I did
yeah. Of course.
tell him that during the interview, by the way. And Kamal Miller is Kamal Miller. So yeah, no, I think they have potential. You're the former center back. So what did you think?
Well, it's different times, eh, man. Now you see, there's a lot. They're asking a lot of different things to center backs these days that they used to maybe 20 odd years ago. So, Camacho, one thing that he brought to the table was his pressure, and the reason why they would ask the quote unquote sweeper or central center back to put high pressure like this is that you had some backing in the form of your left and right center backs. So now Joel Waterman is very good at that too. So I mean, it was a problem to lose Camacho, but I think if you look at the position wise, I think it would have been worse to lose a player like Kamal Miller for a long while than Camacho, because you see Joel Waterman can play in that position. Gabriele Corbo is said to be able to play in that position, though I think he would bring a bit more of a laid back type of play where you see Camacho and Waterman going a bit harder and more aggressive. So that would be an adjustment. But for it's, just look at the price of that center back trio.
It's
It's not.
crazy, man.
It's crazy. I think they're paid maybe 1 million, or
Not
not even,
even.
together,
Not.
and
We
they're
don't know
performing.
how much they paid for Corbo, right?
Yeah, but
So.
it can't be like 2 3. It must be close to 1 million maybe, and they're performing very well.
Oh,
So
Kamal Miller is what, 300,000
yeah,
or something like that. I
yeah.
don't remember. I think he was around 300,000. Waterman is 82,000.
This is ridiculous, man.
And Corbo
Ridiculous.
is the loan, I think, from
Yeah.
because he's not transferred, right? So
So
he's on loan, right?
yeah, he is. He is. So
Yeah. So
500K maybe. So it's crazy. Very, very good performances. And, you know, obviously the system is well understood now. So when you have to move positions, I think it's a bit less of a stress too for defenders. So if Joel Waterman, got injured or you would miss a game, I think Gabriele Corbu could jump into that position and do a good job too. So no, it's looking good. I'm confident, and it makes it a bit less panicky in a way when you see Camacho miss maybe a month or so. So it's looking good.
yeah, I looked it up.
Okay,
Two
go
hundred
ahead.
and 25,000 in GAM for Kamal Miller, with 50,000 in conditional general allocation money. So at most $275,000 for Kamal Miller. And the Canadian international qualified for the World Cup, one of the best left center backs in the league.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. Eh?
it's
Well,
crazy.
let's talk about Kamal Miller. You remember that tackle on Christian Macoun at the 83rd minute, and
Yeah.
and man, I, I mean, you saw how fired up he was, and that the game was 3-0 at that moment, but that mentality that Montreal have of making Sad Saputo, a fortress, and we're gonna go get that clean sheet and we'll put our bodies on the line. It's fantastic, and I really loved that Kamal Miller really celebrated his tackle, because it's a very touchy situation for a center back, because the forward has inside position on you. So if you do commit and you miss the ball, it's an automatic red card. And Kamal Miller's been suspended already this season. You don't want to miss too many games, and he just threw his body in there, and it's not an easy technique to do, because you have to really time your movement to when the ball is available, and it's available in a gap of half a second maybe, because if you know Christian Macoun just touches the ball right before Miller tackles and he falls, he's off, and I think it would have been a free kick on the top of the box. So, man, it's great to see how Montreal's defense is able to just keep that mentality and that willingness to play 90 minutes and play hard in that way. And it's something we've not seen much in Montreal through the years. Eh?
Yeah, yeah. We say in French, mouiller le maillot,
Yeah,
means like get get like
get
your
dirty,
shirt, get
yeah,
dirty, yeah, if you want to. So that's exactly what Kamal Miller is, right? He's someone that gives his 100% every game, and it
yeah.
shows. You never see Kamal Miller just. Sometimes he's a bit clumsy when he has bad games, but you never see him just being lazy. He's
No,
never lazy.
no, that's not in his DNA for sure. We'll go back a bit. Well, we'll go back to the 72nd minute of the game. Wilfred Nancy made his first substitution. So Mason Toy and Joaquin Torres replaced Lassi Lapalainen and Romel Kyoto. That was significant for me, that Nancy sent in the melee at the same time probably our two offensive players who are struggling the most. Would you have liked them to have a bit more minutes than what Wilfred Nancy gave them? Maybe question of getting their confidence back.
No,
Okay.
no, I think you're at home. You're in a playoff run. You want to show that you're the team that's in form. You want to show your dominance against, let's face it, a team that's battling for a playoff position that we might maybe meet in the playoffs at one point. So no, I wouldn't give them the more time. I think it's important that he did give them
Hmm.
time, because maybe to give them a bit more confidence. But no, I think he made the change at the right time, in my opinion. I don't know if you thought differently, but
I mean, and then I think in an ideal world, Kai Kamara would be your sub. Going into the end of the season or playoffs. So if you do need his physical presence, his I mean, just his contribution, what he can give, you could bring on maybe 30, 35 minutes, 20 minutes, depending of the game. So yeah, for sure, if Mason Toy could find his touch back before the playoffs, I think it would be awesome. But in that particular game, I don't know, man. It's difficult to say because Wilfred Nancy as his coaching is very different than what would be classic type of coaching. A lot of coaches at the 60th minute mark, they get their
no.
first changes going, they start playing a bit, but Wilfred Nancy doesn't think that way. So why he gave only 18 minutes to Torres and Mason Toy, I couldn't say exactly the reason, but for sure I'm looking at Mason Toy more than Joaquin Torres, and I say, man, this guy can be so crucial come the end of the season and the playoffs. I would have loved him to have maybe a bit more of a run and maybe get that goal, in a game that's practically won, right?
But they will have time, right? I'm sorry, but 18 minutes plus the extra time, that's usually 2-3 minutes. That's 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, if you're not able to do some things right, that means that you're not ready to play more, right? So I don't know. At one point, you have to. Yes, those players are going to be important at this season still, but at one point you have to get the results too, right?
Yeah,
You're
true.
fighting for a top three position, maybe more. We'll talk about it in the presser afterwards if we talk about the presser. But no, I'm not gonna. No, I think he made the right decision. I'm not. I don't know. I don't see him. I don't see why he would have give them a chance beforehand. I don't see the goal and the objective
Yeah, yeah, no,
behind
I
it.
get feel you. Yeah, okay. 3 minutes following the sub, Wanyama, for a rare instance, surged forward without the ball and headed Gabriele Corbo's cross over the crossbar. Victor Wanyama had a very difficult task in that game. He was
Yeah,
marshalling the center of the field practically all alone for the whole game because of how wide Schwanyag and Piet were positioned. But the Kenyan still managed to hold his ground really well, I think. Is it fair to say that if Wanyama isn't offered a new contract at the end of the year, Wilfred Nasi will have a lot of tactical headaches in the offseason?
I think that we underestimate the amount of work that Victor Wanyama
Mm-hmm.
does. He works like a dog on the pitch, and he's so important for for Montreal. Guys, how many times have you heard the name Carlos Gill in that game?
Oh, he was a ghost, man.
And why was he a ghost? Because he was like grabbed by Victor Wanyama during the whole game. He wasn't able to express himself because every time he was able to turn around, he had Victor Wanyama in his face. And every time he had a pocket of space, you would see Victor Wanyama surging in to come and take the ball from him. Like Victor Wanyama made sure that Carlos Gil didn't have a room to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's been outstanding in that game. He was very defensive, and that was what was required of him during that game. Now, does he deserve a contract? For sure he does. For sure he does, and I think that everybody knows that he does. The thing is it worth 3 million? And that's where the problem lies, right? Pretty sure that if he accepts a 1.5 or 2 million contract, pretty sure that Olivier Renard will offer him that, no problems at all. But yeah,
No,
it's business, right?
for sure. But if you look at yesterday's game, right? Sorry, Saturday's game. Um, Victor Wanyama plays in the center of the park. Mathieu Chouanière plays extremely wide on
Yeah,
the left. Sampiet, as probably the game he was, yes, he does roam a lot close to Alistair Johnston, but I've never seen him play that wide. So,
yeah,
there was really an idea that you would spread out your center midfielders in Chouanière and Piet to create these overloads on the side. But doing that, Victor Wanyama had to deal with the whole of the center of the pitch, and he was running a bit all over the place, and it looked awkward at some moments because he was saying, "Man, Wanyama put pressure on the left, but there was a player on the right." But that was a bit the gamble that Wilfred Nassi took in playing him kind of alone in that position. And for me, he did pretty well. Now, if you don't have Victor Wanyama, I don't think you can play that tactical system against New England on Saturday, because do you have a player that can do that what Victor Wanyama did for 90 minutes?
yeah.
I
You
doubt
have
it.
Samuel Piet.
It's not the same, man. It's not the
I'm
same.
pretty sure he can do that same job. The thing is, who's gonna play the role of
Well,
Samuel
yeah,
Piet
that's
now?
another
And
problem.
that's the other problem. And I
Yeah.
don't think that a lot of people can play that role. And you know what? It's a headache, yeah, for sure. He's a big piece, Victor Wanyama, as you said. He's a very very big piece, and I think that the two of them in that Piet and Wanyama are very important for the squad. So hopefully we'll see them both next year.
Man, hopefully. In the 85th minute, Omar Gonzalez of New England hit the bar, and a minute later, Miljevic and Torres combined. And when Matko entered the penalty area, he fell under the challenge, and Chris Penso pointed to the spot. But there was a lot to talk about here because Chris Penso was called to the VAR monitor. What we can only assume is because the VAR official was suspecting a dive. At first glance, and even with television replays, it really looked like a dive to me. What about you, Eddie?
Oh man, it's a completely ego from Penso. Like he didn't want to say that he made the wrong call. Like, I'm
You think so?
sorry,
Yeah.
this is a dive. This is 100% a dive. There's no foul there.
Well,
There's nothing.
well, there's Yannick Massicotte, friend of
Yeah,
the show, that sent us a message concerning exactly that, and he says, "This time it goes by our side, but imagine if we had been on the other side of that very bad decision." Your thoughts? Well, I mean, if
I would have been pissed.
yeah, of course, of course, of course, but I mean, he had the same replays as we did. I looked at it many times. I couldn't see an ounce of contact. And really, Matko did the classic move of a player who's trying to dive. He extended his foot towards the player, trying
Yeah,
to, initiate contact himself towards the other player. And he didn't even manage to touch the New England player. He really fell on his own. And I don't really understand why Chris Penso gave that penalty. For sure, I was happy. I was about to see another goal at Stade Saputo, but man, I don't like these diving stuff, man. I don't like to see one of our players, go into that type of of acting on the pitch. I'm not a fan of it.
yeah, I'm not a fan either.
So the penalty was confirmed by Chris Penso, and but just before that, for those at the stadium, we had the chance to witness a bit of a weird incident. I don't know if you saw it, Hady, from the press box. Victor Wanyama seemed as if he wanted to take the penalty, but Matko refused to give the ball to him, prompting the Argentine to walk away from the rest of the team, really holding the ball in his hands and not letting anyone get it. And, he was trying to just make sure that he had the ball in his hands until the VAR check was made. Then he placed it on the spot. And, Victor really wanted to take it. He talked to him like 20, 30 seconds, like, give me the ball, I'll take it. And at some point, players, kind of separated them and they went their own ways. But, I mean, what do we make of all of that? It was a bit of a bittersweet moment because, the team is playing so well. Matko just came in. Yes, he won the penalty, but I mean, I don't know, man. I think you should go by seniority here, and that's Victor's ball. If he wants to take it, he takes it, man.
Listen, first of all, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't in the press box. I wasn't at the stadium.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, wasn't able to go. Just wanted to make things clear for everyone. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it this time. First game I missed. Now, concerning that, you don't know what happened on the pitch, right? Yes, of course, there's always going to be, those kinds of talks between players when the number one taker is not on the pitch anymore, because usually we know that it's
It's
Kyoto.
Kyoto, yeah.
Um, so he's not on the pitch anymore. I'm pretty sure that the number two was Victor Wanyama, and maybe Matko said, you know what, I'm gonna take it, and Victor tried to reason with him. I know Matko was like, no, I'm taking it, and Victor, being the leader that he is, was like, you know what, go ahead, just
Yeah.
take it, and I think that's it. I don't think it's bigger than that. I don't think that Victor Wanyama, I know he likes to score 5 goals a year, and he's far from I don't think, did he score this year? I don't think so.
I think he
I
scored
don't think he
one.
scored.
I
He
think he
scored?
scored
I don't know.
one,
I'm not
yeah.
sure. I'm not sure. So I think that just Victor Wanyama is a seasoned veteran. He yeah. I don't think we're gonna hear more of this, or we're gonna. I don't think there's any problems whatsoever. The goal was scored. They won 4-0. I think everybody's happy now.
Yeah, I was. I was, and you were at the presser, right, Eddie?
Yeah, I
Post
was as
game,
a
yeah. So
presser. Yeah.
what did Coach Nasi have to say on his team's performance?
Oh, there's a lot of things. First of all, he talked about Georgie saying you will learn something else later in the week. I'm not going to answer any more questions. He then talked. I talked about the tactical adjustments with Lassie and Mathieu, so that was already covered. And what he said, I think, was very important. It's a question from Quentin Parisis, the editor in chief of Quebec Soccer, that asked him, "Are you battling for first place in the East?" And I loved his answer. He was like, "I'm not answering that question." He's like, "Right now, let me qualify to the playoffs,
Yeah.
and then we'll see.
Yeah.
When we're qualified to the playoffs, we'll see how far we can go. But first of all, we're not qualified. We need to qualify first." And I love that. I love that because we know what happened last year. And I think Wilfried Nancy learned from that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very interesting. I love his answer. Really, really loved his answer. He also said that he loved the way his team, the team performance, the players' performance. He wasn't very happy about, the 15, 20 minutes where New England, took possession and created a lot of chances. He didn't like really that. He said that he's going to talk to them about that. So that's how perfectionist he is. But you know what? That's what he needs to do, right? And he said that he was very proud of the team after halftime, because he knew that that New England was going to come out strong. And he's like, what I liked is that we were able to match their intensity. And that's something that Montreal hasn't done a lot this year, to match the intensity, to even grow more during the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to do that Saturday during the game. So that's about it. Usually, he did talk about the fact that it's important that everybody's involved during training. Without Camacho, he was very happy about the back three, even if it was a bit difficult at the end. And he's like, and he even said, what's important, the clean sheet is important because even Kai Kamara and Kyoto played that very well defensively, coming and making sure to make the extra effort to make sure that that defensively the shape was right. So he talked about that too. So yeah, that's about it. And then he talked a bit about Kyoto, saying how important he was to the team, not only because of his goals, but also in the dressing room, his grinta that he brings into the squad. And he sent him a bit of a message saying that sometimes he wants to do a bit with too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's almost it.
Cool. And we got a question from Tate Brooks.
Yeah.
Our friend from Vermont. He sent us another sellout at Stade Saputo this weekend. Will we sell out at least 2 of our last 4 regular season home games. Um, last week he asked us a bit of a similar question, and I said that Saturday's game would be a sellout. You and Eve were not on my side with that, and I was right, man. So I think we're gonna sell out our last two. Well, I think we might sell out our four remaining home games. To be perfectly honest, that's my
Hopefully,
bet, man. That's
yeah,
my bet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I hope so. I hope so. You know what? At the end of the day, what it shows is that you don't need stars. You need results.
Yeah,
You
we
just need
always said that,
results.
man. We always said that.
Yeah, we just need
Always.
results and good weather. That's unfortunately something that we can't
Man,
control.
you remember when Drogba was there against LA when he scored that last minute goal under when it was a rainy day that day, if I'm not
Yeah, but
mistaken,
Drogba
man.
was there.
Okay,
Like,
but we were winning in these days,
but
man.
without a star and you have results, maybe you're not gonna have a sellout on a rainy
Yeah.
day. And I'll be okay with that. But
Hmm.
I think we'll be around 15, 16, 17,000. We'll not be far from a sellout. We'll not be at 12,000 or 8,000
Yeah, yeah.
because results are there and people are excited. I one of my one of my colleagues called me today at work. Okay, he
Okay.
called me. This guy is a very hardcore hockey fan. Like the guy, he knows everything about hockey, like everything. Okay, and he called me and he's like, "Man, I watched the game, CF Montreal game." Every time he talks to me. He's like, what is Montreal doing? He doesn't know much,
Okay.
right? But this time he told me everything. He's like, "Oh man, did you see the tackle on Kamal Miller? The Kamal Miller tackle? Did you see Kyoto? Oh, what a good player he was!" And he was like super excited. I'm like, "Oh man, I was thinking of you because I know how much you love soccer, and it was so exciting." He was like excited and hyped up. And you know what? This is what results do,
Yeah.
right? They hype up everything in Montreal.
Well, I think it was only a question of results because for too long the club has leaning on maybe having a superstar, even promoting opposition team superstars who came to Stade Saputo. Now I think we've completely gone past that, and
Yeah,
results are there. I know that you say you can't always be dependent of results because you're gonna have an off night, sometimes even an off stretch. You have a month with poor results and performances. Nice football will only bring so many people to the stadiums. You need results too, and Montreal have had that, and the fans have reacted positively because
yeah,
if you're second in the East and you're playing as well as we play, some offensive, attracting football like we play, and there's 12,000 people who come to the stadium, it gives a very, very bad message.
yeah,
But now there's a message that people want to come to soccer, but they just want a good team, a performing team, and that's good because Joey Saputo said it. He wanted the fans to show how much they like their team, and the fans wanted results. Both happen, simultaneously. So I think it's really good, man. So we're starting to talk more and more about the playoffs, and we got two questions coming from GF Rousseau and Mathieu concerning the playoffs. We'll start with GF Rousseau's question. He says it's not a serious question, but based on our home away record this season, do we really want a playoff game at Stade Saputo? For me, tomorrow's game, which was Saturday's game, could dictate the rest of the season at home. I want to see a dominant CF Montreal team. Well, GF, you saw a dominant CF Montreal team. Now to answer his question, do we want a playoff game at home? Well, we have this.
hell yeah,
Hell yes, and we have the same record at home and away.
yeah,
So whatever we get, I think there's no stress. But for
yeah.
sure, we want a home game.
But I think a home game with such a terrific crowd, the crowd that we had on Saturday, makes a big difference. Like Montreal knows how to put pressure on the opponent. Like the fans, they
Yeah,
know how to do
yeah,
it,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and I'm pretty sure they'll know how to do it, and they'll be here at a playoff game and put so much pressure on the opposition that Stade Saputo will be a fortress, and I hope that we'll get a playoff game at home. I really
Well,
hope.
it's looking more and more likely, but let's not jinx it. Let's not jinx it. Matthew's question. He's looking a bit more pragmatically. What part of Montreal's gameplay do you want them to be better before the playoffs? Do you want to start, Hedy, or go?
Oh, I'll start. I'll
Go ahead,
start.
man.
And I thought I talked about it a bit earlier. I touched it a bit earlier. Shots from outside the area, man.
Mm.
You need to show that you're able to take them and you're able to create danger from shots from outside the area, because, or else, teams are going to find a way to make sure that you don't have those chances within the box, in the box, and you need to make sure to diversify the way you attack the
Mm.
box,
Hmm.
and shots from outside the area are very important. So you need someone to take them and to take them well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, nobody's taking them well or unwell
Yeah.
or whatever. Nobody's shooting from outside the area, and that's something that they need to get better at.
Yeah. It's a bit similar with what you're saying, what I think they need to get better at. And it's, if you look at every type of opposition we play, every style of a position we play, and I talked about it a bit when we were comparing Mathieu Choignard to Georgie, is if a team decides to come at Stade Saputo and literally park the bus, we might be in danger, because we
Yeah,
saw it against SKC. 10 men who decided to, yes, they did put some pressure, but for 15 minutes in the second half after the red card. Afterwards, it was a parked bus 25 yards out. We just don't seem to find a way to create, enough space to get real chances. We'll get half chances here and there, but a real open shot on goal, I think that's one weakness that Wilfred Nancy has not been able to solve yet, is that if I'm an opposition coach, I put a flat back five, four midfielders who are playing tight in the middle, and I say, "Come at us." And I don't think Montreal really has has the key to unlock a
yeah,
team like this. So, and that's dangerous, because if we go into the playoffs playing at home and the favorites, it's likely that teams will resort to that type of play, and just say, Montreal, we know you're not good at that. Come at us and we'll see. And so we really need, there's a few games left of the season. We really need to get that fixed before we go into the playoffs, because I think it's going to be a real struggle there if we're not ready, because most likely we're going to face a team who plays that way. So I hope it answered your question, guys. Tait, GF, and Mathieu, thanks for sending them up. Hady, we're done with the game. Let's preview Chicago away. Montreal wins if, Montreal lose if. As usual, do you want to start, or I go?
Oh no, start yourself this
Yeah,
time.
okay. So I think Montreal wins if Chicago is not a great team, and I think that it's been difficult against these lesser teams this year. It's difficult starts playing away. It's not. I just hope Montreal really keep the focus and stay, centered, as we're not there yet. We still need to put in the grind. We still need to get dirty. We still need to put our bodies on the line and try to get these points, because yes, Chicago started the season poorly. They kind of got better recently, but then they dropped a bit. But they're still technically in the playoff race, and it's going to be three crucial points for Chicago. So I don't think that Montreal can go there a bit, complacent. And Wilfred Nancy has to be very careful who he puts on the pitch, because I think you need to keep that grinding mentality and that that workhorse type of play. And if he goes towards players that maybe don't bring that, it could be a bit tricky. I think Montreal loses if man, to be perfectly honest, I don't think Montreal loses. I know I said it before, but I was right, so I think I'll go with it again, man. I don't think Montreal will lose.
I think they will lose if they're not good at finishing their chances,
Hmm.
because they need to score a goal in the first half. If they don't score a goal in the first half, it's going to be more and more difficult.
Hmm.
The thing is, Chicago is not such a bad team offensively. Offensively, you have quality players like Shakir, like
Oh yeah.
Chris Muller, like Prisbilko, Pineda in the middle. You have some good players there, but it's just that, and I will grow in confidence if Montreal doesn't score. If Montreal
Hmm.
scores early, then it's going to be very difficult for Chicago. So they win if they score early or score in the first half. They lose if they don't. That's my answer.
Okay, I don't think they'll lose, but am I getting too confident, man? Maybe. I hope I'm not, though.
Yeah, a bit too much, I think.
I hope I'm not. Hady, Georgie is reportedly moving to
Yeah,
Holland.
yeah. So Georgie moving to Alkmaar, so AZ in Holland. Let's talk a bit about AZ. Okay, it's a club that's used to finish in the top half of the table in Eredivisie. Eredivisie is the first division in Holland. Um, Usually, the name of the club is Alkmaar Zandstreek. It's a club that's founded officially in 1967, but it's a fusion of two clubs, and
Okay.
of the first one of the two clubs was founded in 1910, but AZ, as we know it right now, is founded in 1967. They play their games in AFA Stadium. Uh, there's 19,478 seats, so approximately like
Stats Saputo.
Stade Saputo. So he's not going to be too it's strange or too. It's not going to be very different from what he sees here in Montreal, Georgi Mihailovic. It's a former club of two very good MLS players. Do you know which ones, Sam? Just for the fun of it.
Are they from Holland or they're Americans that passed through there?
One American and one non-American.
Oh, Josie Altidore played there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, before he moved to
Exactly.
Sunderland.
Exactly.
The sec.
That I think everybody knows. The
Yeah.
second one, I'm pretty sure that you didn't know. I was very surprised when I saw it.
Nah, I don't, man. Who?
It's Harris Medunjanin.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, he played for them too. So they know what MLS players can
Hmm.
bring to the table, so that's pretty nice also. And the captain of the club is Bruno Martins Indy. He's a
Oh,
central
yeah.
defender,
Yeah.
very good central
Hmm.
defender. He's a Dutch international player. He's not called up every time. He hasn't been called up in a while. But it's a club also, AZ Alkmaar, that was coached by a lot of legends like Dick Advocat, like Louis Van Gaal, like Ronald Koeman, like Marco van Basten. And lately it was coached by Arne Slot, that later moved to Feyenoord. And with Feyenoord, he reached the Europa Conference League final last year.
Hmm.
Um, but right now it's coached by Pascal Janssen. Not a well known coach, but they're a team that have a very big objective. They want to be in the top three of the Eredivisie this year. So they're putting money on the table to get quality players. And if the reported fee for Georgi Mihailovic is between 5 and 6 million euros, the most they played for a player in the history of the club is 7 million. So
It's,
they're he's going to be the second most expensive transfer in AZ history.
oh.
So a bit of pressure there, but a good club, I think. What do you think? Do you think it's the right club for someone like Georgi Mihailovic?
You know, my first instinct when I saw that was that Georgie, we've heard rumors that he was linked to Germany and to England, but when I heard that he was moving to Holland, for the first thing I thought was, he knows that he has a lot of potential. Holland is known to be a league that is very good developing players because not every club has a win now absolutely mentality. They're open to work a bit more with their players and make them grow a bit. What we're seeing in Montreal to eventually sell, to bigger clubs in Europe. So maybe Georgie thinks that he can go grow a bit more there and then move maybe to a bigger league if that's what he wants. But now you're telling me something interesting, Hady, that Alkmaar really want to win this year. So
Yeah.
they're not necessarily seeing Georgie as a project, for a resale. They're seeing Georgie as a player that can really help them qualify for these Europa League and Champions League places, and this is very, very interesting. I wasn't I wasn't in that feeling really when I saw the move. So it's a it is a very big move for Georgie, because you're gonna have that label of a player that's the second most expensive in club history. I know they're begging for a number 10. From what I read, reports is that they're really missing that in their structure, and Georgie could bring that. But it's a big one for him, and I think he's able to adapt. But one thing for sure is that he's not going to come there and be their savior as soon as he arrives. I think if the fan base really wants to get the better of Georgia, they need to be patient a bit like when he arrived in Montreal. And yes, he looked very good in the first games, but he really got better as time went on. And so if he's able to continue his progression in Europe, and for sure Holland is a very looked at league by German clubs, by British clubs, by Italian clubs. Well, if he does perform well there, he might get his dream transfer that every player wants, right?
Yeah, and not only that, AZ is playing European football.
They're playing
Uh,
conference this year, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Europa Conference. Now they're still in the qualifications phase, but like if you look at the qualification, the last game they played, they won against Gil Vicente 4-0 at home.
Mm.
They're playing the second game this week on Thursday. So that's the return leg, and I think that's the next that's the last round before group stage. So they're almost qualified, having a 4-0 aggregate win. So also European football can bring him a lot of visibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that move of Georgi Mihailovic, because he's not going in a club that's that's too small, and that where he's always going to be he's going to battle a relegation battle and everything.
Yeah.
And usually it's hard to get that visibility. He's going to a club that's one of the top 8 or top 6 top 8 leagues in Europe, and that's playing for European places. And I think that's going to be very interesting for him. So very, very excited for him. Now, for the amount of money, we're not really sure how much it's going to be. Is it going to be 5 million, 6 million euros? A lot of people are saying also we will have a percentage on the resale. That I think is very, very important, because he's going to be resold if he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And AZ has a tendency of selling their best players all the time. And also what's interesting, we heard a lot of news concerning the future of Georgi Mihailovic for the 2022 MLS season.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not as clear as what we think.
Okay.
A lot of rumors are saying different things. Some people are saying, and Vincent Détouche is the one that said he's going to be here until the end of the season. I think that's the goal of Olivier Renard. But if AZ comes and say, you know what, we need him right now, we're going to pay you 8 million, I'm pretty sure that Olivier Renard will accept that offer, right? So the thing is, he cannot be bought and then reloaned to Montreal, because the transfer window in Montreal in MLS is closed. So it's not possible to buy him and then reloan him. But so either you have to complete the deal right now for January, or you have to complete the deal right now for right now. So let's wait and see what's going to happen with Georgi Mihailovic.
Yeah, probably the club is going to confirm it during the weekend. This is when we're really going to have the full details. So, but it looks as if it's done, with all the reports that came out from here and from Holland. And I want to give a shout out to Sid from CanFC, who got the news first. Got it like 24 hours before.
Amazing guy, by the way. If you don't know him, go follow him and tell him that he's awesome, because he is.
So that's what's up for Georgie. Hady, I think we're ready for Joel Waterman interview.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and hear that interview with Joel Waterman. Yeah, so I'm joined today by Joel Waterman, the center back for CF Montreal. Hey, Joel, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So we're very happy to have you here on the show, and I'm pretty sure that our all our listeners are going to be very happy too. Listen, let's start from the beginning. Okay, you're born in British Columbia, right, in Langley, and you had a tryout with the Whitecaps at one point, if I'm not mistaken. How was the experience, and what was their feedback when they decided to let you go, when they didn't offer you a contract? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was when I was 18, I think. It was when I was part of the BC provincial team when I was 13, and then I didn't make it again until I was 18. So I started getting good form again when I was 18, kind of growing into my body, those types of things. Playing really well, and then the Whitecaps came calling and asked me to come out for a couple of weeks and just train with the squad. And this was at a time where you had the Sam Adekubis of the world, the Kians, Froze, Marco Bustos. So they were already an amazing squad. So I was already up against some of the top players, obviously in BC and in the country. But I remember it. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember playing well. I think I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take that next step yet. They knew that. I knew that. So it was an amazing experience for me to play with those types of players and to get that experience. But looking back, I'm actually very happy that they didn't pick me, because it made me work even harder for that next opportunity, and allowed me to go to school, which was amazing. I had a great 5 years at Trinity Western. So looking back, it all happened for a reason, I guess.
Now, you said that you were about 18 back then. Like at that point, you knew you wanted to pursue a professional career, or you weren't really sure yet, or you were just looking to see if there are any opportunities. What was your mindset back then?
No, I've wanted to be a professional footballer since as long as I can remember. I think I was a bit naive to it, not knowing what I really wanted to do, where I wanted to go, if I wanted to go to the States, if I wanted to go overseas. And at this time, we didn't have the Canadian Premier League. We didn't really have an avenue in Canada. So it was definitely hard to see in some moments. But, I just loved the game, and I just kept playing, and things happened for me in my career. I can't even explain to tell you all of the things that had to go my way to get to where I am. But, obviously hard work and all those types of things come with it. But, for me, it was more of a naivety, just playing the game I love, and something I wanted to do since I can remember.
Wow. Okay. What made you in love with the game, right? You said that in Canada, there wasn't a lot of soccer around, no professional soccer or anything. What made you in love with the game? Someone in the family?
Yeah, my full family played. So my dad and my mom both played. So I was always at the pitch, watching my mom, watching my dad, kicking on the side. Anytime I could go to the pitch and just run around, I was there. They couldn't keep me under wraps. I was a very energetic kid. So for me, that was kind of like my outlet for that. I know I didn't grow up in a super, super rough neighborhood, but it kind of kept me out of trouble and allowed me to focus. And it gave me kind of a purpose. So, and it was where I was happiest. I was happiest on the pitch playing football. So for me, it was not a hard decision at all to keep pursuing it.
On the Ball is Round, we always ask the same question. Did you have a favorite club, or do you still have a favorite club, in Europe or anywhere? What was the club that you were watching growing up?
So for me, I was a Steven Gerrard fan. So I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm sure I switched back and forth a couple of times. I didn't really know probably the severity of switching clubs when I was younger, when I was 9, 10. I may have been a Man United fan at one point, but I remember having like a Theater of Dreams poster, as I'm sure so many other kids did. But as soon as I saw Steven Gerrard play, I was in love with him. So, for me, I was a midfielder before I was a center back. So he's kind of my guy going forward. And then Liverpool just became a favorite because of that.
Now, you must have a lot of discussions with Alistair Johnston, I'm pretty sure, in the locker room, right?
A little bit. I get onto him, especially in the way Man United's playing right now. But it's fun bugging him about it.
Perfect. Now, you talked about wanting to always have a professional career. You were drafted 14th out of 21 in the 2018 U Sports Draft. How was the whole experience, right? It's the first draft ever for a Canadian Premier League. Was it really organized? Not really. Like, we've heard a lot of rumors. How did you live it yourself as a player?
Yeah, from what I remember, they didn't give us a lot of information about it. Obviously, they were still figuring out the steps on, the proper way to do things. I just remember it was my final year at university, and I was playing in the national tournament. So, I just knew that if I played well there, I would probably get my opportunity. I actually wasn't going to enter the draft just because I didn't know, the details behind it. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I didn't want to go to a Halifax team or, somewhere out east. I wanted to at least stay, with the Pacific or obviously Calgary, because I went there and played PDL with them. But, they kind of gave me a hint that I would either be drafted by Pacific or Cavalry, and people kind of knew, who they were going to take. So I ended up entering it anyways. And yeah, it was all new to me. I didn't really know what to expect in terms of fans, the culture, the stadiums, everything was a big question mark for me and probably so many others, even the owners. But they did it properly. They put money into it. They got people around it. It's a great start. I want to see more fans obviously out, but for me, from what I remember, it was kind of all over the place, but it was just like I said before, an opportunity to show myself and to show my abilities at the next level.
Nice. Now, you said that you wanted to stay in the West, but right after you're bought by CF Montreal in the East completely. So what made you change your mind? Is it just the opportunity to play in MLS, or is it anything else? The project from presented by CF Montreal. What was it exactly that made you change?
Yeah, I think at the time when I was just coming into university, I was still a young kid, right? And at that time, I wasn't ready to make that big jump. But I think after the year I had with Cavalry and knowing how well I played that season. When Montreal came knocking, it was a no-brainer for me. Again, another level up, another step up. For me, it was another opportunity, especially with when Thierry was here to be coached by one of the game's legends. I love Montreal as a city. I was there when I was younger, playing the provincial team and stuff like that. So everything kind of lined up, the city, the team, how much history there is here. So for me, it was a no-brainer after that next year.
I'm pretty sure you were a Whitecaps fan, right? Younger. So was that a problem, coming to Montreal?
I mean, at the end of the day, the Whitecaps said no. So,
they missed the boat, right?
No, I went to Whitecaps games. I wouldn't say I was a diehard fan by any means, but, I love to go to BC Place, especially in the summer times with the roof open. I used to watch all the MLS teams, the Canadian MLS teams, actually TFC and Montreal. So for me, I didn't really have any ties to one end or another. It was just Montreal came in and it was a no-brainer for me.
Now, you will always be remembered as the first CPL player to join MLS. When you made the move in January 2019, do you think many others deserve that chance that are playing right now in CPL and should be in MLS? And did that add an extra pressure on your shoulders being the first?
To answer your first question, I think there are guys in the league right now that can make that jump. I think you've seen it since, I did it back in 2019. I think there's been 8 or 9 or even 10 guys that have made that jump. Obviously some, didn't make it. Some didn't play at the highest level. They kind of came back, but again, you're going to have that, right? You're going to have those success stories and guys that maybe might not be ready and they'll maybe get their other chance in the future. But, for me watching the games, I still keep up to tabs with obviously Cavalry because they were my team, but the whole league. And I've watched games and I know, what guys I think deserve to make that jump. But again, a lot of the things have to line up, right? I think you have to find the right club. You have to find a club that wants you. You have to be patient. There's so many other things that have to line up. So, and to answer your second question, I don't know if I felt any pressure. I was very honored to be that first guy. I was just trying to be, a guy that maybe guys could reach out to and just ask questions and, how'd you handle this? How'd you handle that? It was still all new to me too. I've obviously learned so much in my last 3 years here. So I know even more now than I did back then. But for me, it wasn't an added pressure. I think I just took it on full force. And I want to be an example that you can make it through the Canadian pathway. And not a lot of people know my story, so I want to get that story out there and really give guys, hope and inspiration that it can be done. So I hope I can just continue to do that, and it helps when I'm playing well too, and I'm playing week in, week out, which helps, and it shows guys that it can be done.
Yeah, for sure. Now, are you still contacted by CPL players to know if there is an opportunity in Montreal? And the other way around, are you like the Vasily Kremenziris or Olivier Renard come to you sometimes to say, do you know someone for that position? Or I'm pretty sure like maybe some discussions are made with you, or not really?
Yeah, no, not with management. I obviously talk to guys in the league that ask me about it, and guys that support my journey, and which is amazing. Some of my best friends are still from Calgary, and I keep in touch with them, almost every week. But yeah, we just talk about life too. We're friends first before football, and I just give them some advice if they ask for it. I don't know everything, but they're gonna realize it soon too with guys making moves, and they'll experience it for themselves. So I just want to be that support system for them too.
Perfect. Now, you've had two coaches since coming to Montreal. How do you compare Thierry Henry and Wilfried Nancy? Differences, resemblances?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think they have similarities in the way their tactics are. I think you can see a little bit of our play now that Thierry kind of tried to instill in that year. I think it was such a hard year because with COVID and he didn't really get a fair shot at setting his tactics. I think a lot of it had to do with results because it was such a shorter season, and we were kind of running out of time and we were put under pressure in that sense. But yeah, both coaches, great tactical minds. Both know football. They know what to get out of the guys that they have. And then I think it was just, with Will, I think it was just timing. I think, obviously my first year we had 5-6 months off. I didn't get to train. I didn't get to work under Thierry. I didn't get to personally, nobody did. And now, Will's obviously more hands-on, where we have 2 full seasons underneath our belts here, obviously with me being here. But yeah, very, very tactical savvy, I would say, for both managers, and they both know how to get the most out of their players.
Perfect. Now, you've truly claimed the right center back position as your own this season, and not only the right center back, the left center back, and all other positions. What helped you improve your play over the past couple of years, if you have to pinpoint something in particular?
I think the biggest thing for me was just my defensive responsibilities, whether that's my positioning, getting in the mindset of being a defender. Like I said, I was a midfielder before, so I didn't really have to worry about, what was behind me, because I had my back line to bail me out if people got past me. So I think getting in the mindset of your defender first, no matter, how well people are on the ball or how football is shifting to that modern center back when they can play with their feet too. Obviously, I want that, and I have that, but getting that defensive mindset first, I think, was the biggest thing for me, and knowing my positioning on the field and that sense. So for me, that's been the biggest change. Obviously, there's been so many others that I've tried to work on, and it's just being patient, right? I think just you play these games, you get a consistent run, and you find out what your almost patterns are and your habits, and which ones are good and which ones are bad, and you're trying to eliminate the bad ones. So for me, it was just knowing myself, learning, maturing. I'm maturing every year. I'm being patient, and I just want to continue to learn for sure.
Perfect. Now, the feeling amongst the fans here is that you have an old school touch to your game. Is it because, you're concentrated on your defensive responsibilities, you're strong in the air, you seem to love to tackle, and you've had some amazing tackles this year already, and you like physical play? Is it because you had your mindset on these, specific things that made you, that kind of old school defender?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I wanted to be more physical. I wanted to add that edge that I think the best center backs in the world have. You look at the Sergio Ramoses, the Virgil van Dijks. They have that bite. They have that anger. So I wanted to add that to my game. I wanted to be stronger, both aerially and, on the ground. Doesn't necessarily mean slide tackling, but, my 1v1 defending and things of that nature. So, yeah, I would say I didn't know fans thought of me in that sense, but I'm glad the kind of narrative is shifting a little bit, and I can just add that to my game.
Perfect. Now, there's been a lot of noise among Montreal fans and, in other circles that you should go to Qatar with the national team. Are you in contact with John Herdman? Are you does he talk to you? Are you in discussion with him, or does he look at you? Does he give you advice to maybe get to with the national team or get called up?
I've said it in multiple interviews. There's no personal contact. I don't know how much personal contact he has with guys on the team. I don't know that. I don't know, quite what type of coach he is yet. I've only been with him for a couple camps. So, but for me, it's, like I said, I'm in the group with, 40, 50 guys, the shortlisted guys, and I know I'm in the mix. So, for me, all I can focus on is continuing to play well for Montreal, right? That's all I can control. I can't control if they choose me or not. Obviously I want to be a part of that World Cup squad. I've said it on multiple occasions. I think you look at Canadian soccer right now, it's such an exciting time. And I think all Canadian footballers at this level want to be a part of it. So like I said, I just got to be patient and just wait till that September camp comes around and, just pray I'm a part of that. And then if I can be, any benefit to the team going to Qatar, that would be amazing. I think that would be the next step in my career. I want to get that first cap for the national team. So that's something I've said on multiple occasions. So, for me, it's just continue to play well and to stay healthy and to give myself a really, really good chance.
Perfect. Now, we've seen a lot of atypical plays from defenders under Wilfried Nancy, either filling in the midfield with the ball, pressing very high up the pitch. Was it a struggle to adjust to these demands, or because you were a midfielder, it was a bit easier for you?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it's a struggle. I definitely think he showed us different ways to play with the opposition. I'm sure you've seen some games where myself or Rudy, we kind of calm the play down and we hold the ball. I think that's something he showed us that we really, didn't recognize before in our games. You're kind of taught to play quickly and but at some points you don't have to do that, right? Depending on what the opposition gives you. But for me, I've always been comfortable with driving with the ball, playing in the opposition half, things of that nature. So for me, it wasn't a big shift, but just those little nuances and learning different details that the coach, teaches us. It's been really interesting to see my game, how it's developed, but also our team game as well.
Perfect. Now, apart from goals and assists, which under the radar statistic would make you proudest to be first in the league? Is it block shots, interceptions, aerial battles? What is it exactly? What are you looking for, statistically?
I don't know if I really pay attention to stats. If I had to choose one, it'd probably be blocks and tackles in that group kind of. The more we can get a toe on something or a shoulder or a thigh, whatever it may be, to kind of keep goals out, we'll do that. And we love that as defenders. That's kind of like scoring a goal for us, right? Because we don't normally score a lot of goals, but for us, if we can get that game-saving tackle or just a block shot in the first half or whatever it may be to keep a clean sheet, then for us, that's a win.
Yeah. Now you're going to a game. You're about to start the game. To kickoff is about to start. What's your personal routine and the team's routine before a game?
Yeah, my personal one is, I like to just walk out on the pitch and just go in areas where I'm going to be during the game and just kind of visualize, what play could happen, where the opposition may be, where my teammates may be, just to get some mental reps in. I feel like that helps me. I don't know if it helps everyone, but it definitely helps me. And then, before the game, just listening to music, getting in the locker room. I want to unplug too and hear the noise of guys getting taped and eating gum and fruits or whatever they're doing. I like to hear that and be involved in the locker room, because I think when I'm done, I'm going to miss those times for sure. And then the team, I think everyone kind of just does their own individual thing, whatever gets them ready. I don't care what they do to get ready, whether it's eating candy or whatever it may be. I don't care, as long as they know what gets them ready and gets them fired up. I'm all for it. And then we do like a little huddle, little speech, and we're on the pitch ready to go.
Is there a player that has a weird routine?
Nah, I don't think so. Everyone's pretty standard. Some guys like lay down on the ground with their headphones in and stuff like that, which is probably the weirdest. But nah, everyone's pretty individualized and unique with it.
Perfect. Now, during your time off, you were very involved with the community in your hometown. What is it that drives you to give back?
I think just knowing, I was, especially with my own hometown club, Aldergrove Youth Soccer, I think I was a part of that club till I was 11. And just seeing those kids, I don't think anyone expected, someone from Aldergrove to make it to this level. I don't know if there's ever been a professional athlete to make it out of Aldergrove in any sport. I think there may have been a couple, but, for me, I just want to show these kids that, it's possible. And, whether or not they want to take football as a serious career or not, I just want to give back to my community and build it up and just use my platform for good. I think this is so much bigger than ourselves and what we get out of it and the money we make and all those things. So, for me, if I can give back to my community in any way through sports, I think sports are the most important thing for a kid to be a part of. It teaches you so many lessons that you may not learn during life. So it's all those things encompassing and just making sure that, I stand for something more than just myself. I can, because that's my community and they've supported me throughout my career. So I just want to give it back. It's just as simple as that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, Joel, last question for you. You talked about your love for Steven Gerrard and Liverpool, but is there a particular defender that you try to model your playing style after?
I really like John Stones. I think John Stones, obviously great with the ball at his feet. We have similar, I think, body types. I can't really look at a Virgil van Dijk because he's probably 6'3", 6'4", 215. Like, he's not really the type of center back I am. But I think I just take little small things from all of them. I think they all have, especially the top center backs in the world, they're the best for a reason. But I would say John Stones is one of my favorites just because he's so good with the ball at his feet. He has that nasty bite to him too that I want to add to my game even more. So I would probably say him.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So listen, Joel, on the ball this round, we always say that you deserve to go to Qatar, and I hope that John Herdman will give you that chance because you've been amazing since the beginning of the season, and we hope that it's going to continue until the end of this season, but also the future season. So thanks a lot for being here, Joel.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Perfect. Have a nice day. Thanks a lot.
All right. You too. Take care.
Yeah. So that was it for Joel Waterman. I loved how generous he was, and I thought about you, man, when he said John Stones. I'm like, Sam is not gonna like that.
I thought he was saying John Terry. I was like, yeah, that was a fantastic defender. He's retired, but we watched him play for sure if he saw Steven Gerrard. But then when he said John Stones, I kind of jumped a bit. But everyone has their I used to love Gabriel Heinze and Nemanja Vidic, and I'm sure some people really didn't like them. So it's all good. Thank you, Matthew, who says a good interview with Joel. Yeah, it was really a good. I hadn't seen the interview, Hady, so it was a surprise while listening. It was a really cool interview. He's a nice guy, Joel, and he was very generous for sure. Hady, I think we're ready for part 2. We only have social media in it, but it's gonna be more than enough for sure. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so for social media, I chose 5 tweets today. So let's start with the first one. Is from Andy Gags. Andy, it was about a year ago when Wanyama's quality on the pitch was far superior to the rest of his teammates. I'm not noticing the same disparity this year, and Wanyama has not regressed either. This says a lot about the work that Nancy and his staff would have done in CF Montreal. Sam, what do you think about that statement?
I think it's a brilliant statement. It's a really nuanced statement, and I think he's right because I mean, there's not a lot of players that have not progressed under Wilfred Nancy, that their game hasn't evolved, and we couldn't say that for from previous coaches. Let's say we can take Rémi Garde, who was a big time manager from Europe, coach in the Champions League, who won the Coupe de France, and he had a name, right? He coached in the Premier
Yeah,
League, so we were
was a great
expecting.
player
He
first.
was a good, very good player too. He had played for Arsenal, and you know he was known for developing young players because he was part of Lyon's academy. And now you see what Wilfred Nasi has done with this team. I've seen much more progression from this manager than from previous, and we can look at others. For sure, it's not exactly the same setup. I think Remy Gall, Mauro Biello, Frank Lopez were asked to win at all costs, which really doesn't help when you're trying to improve your team. Sometimes you're constrained to maybe using players at positions that they're not comfortable with. You have less patience with mistakes. But I mean, other than that, I think Wilfred Nancy, you have to tip your hat that for real he's really helped practically everyone evolve, and that's something that can be said of a lot of managers, not even here in Montreal but everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tremendous job from Wilfred Nancy, and tremendous tweet. I loved
Yeah.
it. So you're spot on, man, Andy. Let's move on with the second tweet. And it's from Casey Dobson. The fact that the goal that caught him the rank was his first at Saputo for the home team after years of traumatizing CF Montreal backlines is chef's kiss. So talking about, of course, Kai Kamara being number 3 all-time goal scorers in MLS. Loved it because, spot on also.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say else? That's 10 on 10. That's a great tweet, man. Really
Yeah.
good.
True. Nothing more to say. Let's move on to the third one from Igor Black. So Josh Dubs. CF Montreal is essentially having the best season of their existence. Here for it. Okay, that's a very bold statement. Do you agree with that, Sam?
Well, the MLS existence, maybe, because the club has had
He
some
didn't
awesome years.
specify. He didn't
Well,
specify.
I mean, for sure, I was young, when Montreal was playing in USL and the A League, so it's a bit far. So I don't have the same vision of football than I had when I was young. So it's difficult to say, but I would say definitely MLS, most consistent and with the most attractive football, definitely. Now in the history of the club, I think we would need some expertise from maybe some older guys. So if anyone who listens to the show was really adept of Montreal in these days, you hit us back. Was it a USL team in the early 2000s or this team? I'm not sure, man. I was a bit too young, to be honest.
Let's move on with the next tweet. It's from George Stephanopoulos. Will Coach Nancy get some respect from the league and make MLS Team of the Week? If he doesn't, after 4-0 ass kicking, he never will.
Yeah, but he did make it this year at the start of the season, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't completely overlooked every single week, unless I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did. But when last week when they put Steve Cherundolo, I thought it was a bit, it was a bit wild because we had a great week, Montreal, and now this week it's Josh Wolf, I think, who was the coach of the week. I don't know. What does it take? You know, I mean, no one was expecting Montreal to do anything good last year, and even this year, it was a bit more optimistic at the start of the year from these experts of the league, but not so much more. So seeing what we're doing, I mean, if Wilfred Nasi doesn't get the respect he deserves, I think he never will.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know why he's not getting more. Like he's getting a lot of props from all the extra time
Yeah,
analyst panels. So Matthew Doyle and Andrew Vebe and all of them. Yes, he's getting a lot of hype, but is it enough? Not really sure. Not really sure. Let's move on to the last tweet, number 5. And it's from Maxime Cardinal in French. P. Bruce, ton matin. So, Bruce, how was your morning? With a screenshot of Bruce Arena really like completely
distraught, man.
Distraught, exactly. And it's really funny. I loved it. And Maxime is a really nice guy. So yeah, this is how Bruce Arena was during the whole game. It was a difficult game for the legend Bruce Arena, because he's the coach that had the most win in MLS history. So it's as simple as that. So
Hady, you dug up some really good tweets, man. That was a very good social media this week, man.
Yeah, it was nice. Listen, it's people that make social media, right? So if they tweet well, they're they're spotted and they're highlighted here on the Ballers Round. It's as simple as that.
For sure. So, Hady, you done with social media?
I'm done with social media.
Guys, we're done with the show. Hady, thank you so much, man.
Thanks,
spending
Sam.
the night with you was cool. Thank you to everyone who rode with us from start to finish. It was awesome. And to everyone who's going to listen during the week. Guys, next week we're taking a little break. I think we've been riding this project for 96 weeks straight. We'll take one off, but we're preparing something for you guys. So we won't let you hanging all week. You'll have something.
You'll have an episode. It's just not going to be a normal episode.
Yeah, it's going to be different. And it's not going to be live with us because we're taking a week off, a little vacation to, boost up the batteries and come back even better.
It will be live. It's just going to be, it's going to be live with one person presenting stuff. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it will be live. Just tune in, check our Twitter feed, our Twitter account, because we'll tell you when it's going to air, because it's not going to air either on Sunday or Monday. It's going to air for sure around Saturday before the game. So, tune in and you can listen to it live. You can listen to it afterwards, but it's going to be interesting.
So we'll see you back for our normal programming in 2 weeks, but you'll have your little special episode in 1 week's time. Until then, guys, have a great time, and just enjoy the moment we're having with Montreal, because as we said in the in the title, good times never seem so good here. So let's enjoy it and just ride the vibe. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you Saturday, I guess, for another episode of the Ballers Round.